So how are we starting this?
6Nothings.
6Nothings. You want to go with 6Nothings? We still have 3 episodes.
Well, I mean, today it's 6Nothings. This is episode 0.
Okay, sure.
So tomorrow it could be 6 trumpets.
In case you're listening in right now, this is the pilot. This part will probably be edited out.
Probably.
I may be doing a lot of editing going on.
Oh. So let's talk Code Talkers, John.
Wait. We have to introduce ourselves. We
Why?
can't. They know I'm John, and that's it. And that's not even correct.
Oh, are you going by a different name now, Bruno?
Yeah, I'm Bruno. It's the return of Bruno.
What's
people.
my name? Stuart?
Stuart? What name do you want to go under?
That's Stuart, sure.
All right. Here's my friend here, Stuart.
I can't go by Rhett because that's already taken. And that's actually my name. Or not.
Yes.
It's close. It's close. Close.
I am John Michael Garapi. We have no idea yet. We have not actually named this show.
No, 6 whatevers.
6 whatevers.
It
was just 6 somethings.
6Nothings.
6Nothings.
Yeah, 6Nothings. It's always 6Nothings. That's what I think.
It will. This first episode will have 6. It will never have 6 again. I'm still pretty sure of that.
Well, it shouldn't have had 6. You made every effort to make that not happen.
So we're gonna be talking about 6 things today.
No, nothings, John.
Nothings. 6 nothings today.
They're like literally nothing we talk about are things. Every nothing is something else.
All right.
It's else.
So let's
6 elses.
Let's talk. Do you want to go in the order I had planned, or do you want to actually
Code Talkers, John?
Code Talkers. Skip it.
We have to go.
Screw it. Go to my big
Talkers.
thing in the
no
middle.
No toilets today. Sadly.
On Reddit, we found under AskHistorians there's an article where somebody asks how close was Japan to cracking the Navajo Code Talkers, and was Japan aware that Americans were using a Native American language as code?
The link to all of these articles will be in the description.
What are the Navajo Code Talkers? Ron, you can tell me this.
What movie was that? First of all,
I mean, no, they're real people,
Ron. They were real people. I know.
They weren't. This wasn't a movie we're talking about.
But the really cool thing is that they were fictionalized in a movie.
Yes.
So that's where I got my first understanding as to who the Navajo, and I think I got my first foray into Navajo Code Talkers. I think it was through the Pacific.
Is that the name of the movie?
No, it wasn't. That wasn't the movie.
Okay,
but that was a series.
Just the ocean.
But there was a movie with Navajo Code Talkers in it, and I've always loved the institution of the Marines. I think from the outside looking in, it's a fantastic institution from the bottom up. I mean, it's mission driven, and also at the same time, it's not anything new. The U.S., from what I understand, had been doing that for decades, if not like generations.
I cheated. I also looked at the Wikipedia article. So they were into the program in the 1920s. And the Navajo specifically, so the idea is that they're using the Navajo language, which only when they started using it, 30 people who were not Navajo knew. It was a very isolated language group, although a lot of Navajo spoke it. But outside of that, it lasted from like 1920 to the early stages of the Vietnam War. They were using Navajo Native Americans to transmit messages back and forth in a coded manner. It wasn't just Navajo, it was coded Navajo. So the enemy could not understand what the heck was being sent back and forth.
So there was a live Navajo that was not a code talker that was captured by the Japanese in 1942 in the Philippines, I believe. Yeah. What ended up happening was that he could not decipher the knowledge, so he was tortured horribly.
That I didn't know. Did that happen to pop up in the movie? I never.
No, that did not pop up in the movie.
Yeah.
But the idea is that Navajo's slang. From what I understand, which I mean, it's like so we're in the New England area. You know, slang is heavy up here too. And despite my sounding not necessarily from the New England area,
oh, you do.
Oh, okay. Maybe I do.
It's okay. We all do.
We don't really know we have any accent anyway. But like the
people
idea is
just if you come from South Carolina, you'll assume we're New Yorkers. That's what it ends up coming down to.
There's a lot of slang up here.
But
there's a lot of slang up here, and when we talk, it's usually. Very few people can actually understand us from outside this area.
It's wicked hard.
Well, yeah, it can be. But so for instance, I dated a Scottish chick, and she had a very thick brogue from Glasgow, and Glaswegian, she's called Luigi, that's the nickname for the area and everything, like all the slang and everything like that. Practically the same type of thing. It's blue collarish, I guess. But the idea is that the Navajo had that slang in the description of things. So only the code talkers, because they talked, repeatedly to each other and kind of bonded over that. And as a result, because they bonded over that, they were able to talk to each other in slang where even other Navajo couldn't understand what they were saying.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's the Navajo code book was memorized by these guys and then ultimately destroyed so they could go into the field. But, like, just as a simple form of this, like, if they were talking about a gunboat, they would use the word shark. If they said lieutenant, it would be the silver oak leaf. So just right on the surface level, they've got words to represent the other words.
But I'm thinking that it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
Because, like, once they got comfortable with how they were talking and who they were talking to,
I'm sure
they could literally go on the cuff.
Yeah.
And change up whatever they were talking about. So instead of saying silver oak leaf, they could go just like, the shiny star.
Yeah.
And they know which thing they're talking about. Or the shiny tree.
Yeah.
They could say shiny tree. And it's like, oh, okay, that.
So while the Japanese did eventually figure out that they were doing Navajo, which is actually impressive that they could figure that much out, when they had one Navajo the person that they were torturing, to him it was gibberish, and they never really moved much past that point. They were able to figure out the language that was being used, but how it was being used is a different thing altogether, because it was just a bunch of run-on words. Where does one word begin and where another word ends? Navajo is notoriously tricky and uses a lot of intonation. I'm not sure if it's one of the Native American languages that actually has vowels that you don't say, that you just make the face for, and the speaker has to be looking at the face, which makes things even more confusing if you're on the radio.
I think it's actually, from what I understood, Polynesian.
Like, I mean...
It's well, I mean, when you hear Polynesian, that's kind of how I feel like I hear Navajo. I could be totally wrong. And by the way, if anybody has... No, seriously.
I mean, a completely different language.
The discussion on this stuff continues. I want to hear what you guys have to think. But, like, the idea behind... what they were doing with the language itself, it sounded like it was Polynesian in the way they were riffing. To me, because it was very vowel heavy. It was the opposite of what you're talking about. The consonants, I think, were there. There were hard consonants and things like that. So you could, and it made it very very good for radio.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. So that they could speak and people could understand them clearly. It was so the phonetic nature of the language benefited. The really, important thing about Native American languages is that, from what I understand, they're phonetic heavy. They rely on that. I think that's a very strong thing in a language, is so that people can understand each other instead of being the fact that they can riff on words, because everything is kind of plug and play.
Yeah.
English is kind of like that too.
No, the thing I was talking about, like, I'm relying off of, like, I once took a phonetics class in college, and it was over 20 years ago. So no one should ever really bank on this. But the general idea is there's a lot of Native American languages that have a lot of vowels. And some of those vowels include vowels that you make the face for, and you breathe air out, but you make no sound. And if that's the case, that makes hearing it, as opposed to watching someone speak it, that much more complicated to try to figure out what they're saying. But yeah, you want to go on to the other something we found? Have we drilled through this enough? You got more?
No, but I think that, again, I would like to revisit this. I think it's a very strong, interesting topic, because there's a lot of rich and important history in it, and a lot to be learned. And it's also so much fun.
It's really kind of funny because...
I tried to actually, sitting down having a think and a stink, so to speak. I was reading the articles and kind of buffing up on my native Navajo, and it was fun to say, like, speaking the words. It's worth a try.
The Wikipedia article that got linked to wasn't actually for the Navajo Windtalkers. It was for all languages that are well known that were used as a way to get around. So, like, Nubian was in there because the Egyptians were using it in their war against Israel. Because only who knows Nubian? It's such an esoteric language nowadays.
Well, another part of that too, though, like, remember the Mummy?
Yes.
So
vividly.
Sanskrit is a language that is only written. We don't know. We don't, like, the language is lost.
Right.
Like, legitimately, Egyptians don't know how to speak Sanskrit. And obviously it might not have even been called Sanskrit. We just call it Sanskrit because we found the tablets and figured it out. Oh, not we. Somebody found the tablets.
We did it. Us. The two of us.
I am 112 years old.
As archaeologists.
No, but, like, somebody found the tablets.
Yeah,
and
sure.
They deciphered it. But they don't know how it was spoken. And so in the Mummy, I think they tried to recreate Sanskrit. And to the best of anybody's knowledge, I think in the Mummy they used the best understanding of how it was spoken. but when you hear Sanskrit being spoken, in my opinion, it's one of those, again, it's another one of those type of languages where it's like, it just sounds like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a very strong language that has hard phonetics that can easily be understood if you actually know what the heck is being said. And it's a beautiful language, in my opinion. I love it. So that's kind of where I was going with that. Yeah. And I would love to see, I haven't seen this. I'd love to see written Navajo and see how that translates.
Well, that's part of the problem, because there is no written Navajo. Well, there wasn't at the time.
There wasn't at the time. Okay.
Nowadays, I mean, obviously we have... The most important thing is, at the time, there was no written version of Navajo, which made it even harder to crack, because you could not write it down and then try to do the math. Nowadays, how they actually write it, that's another story altogether. They've come up with a system since then.
Interesting.
Very
interesting.
You mentioned the fact...
More to say about that.
You mentioned the fact that you were doing your research on the toilet. Had you a smart toilet, it would be able to give you a lot more information while you were taking a dump. Specifically, a smart toilet that can identify you by your anal print and detect diseases, according to The Verge.
All right. I was afraid of this.
We moved. You're the one who brought it up. You're the one who gave me the transition, sir.
I don't.
So this is
such an uncomfortable.
I'm sure it's
in many ways it's uncomfortable.
If you really want to spend thousands of dollars on a toilet that is connected to your smart devices to determine whether or not you have diseases and how much you waste sitting and whatnot, this thing does that. It works while you read. Any thoughts? You were just forlorn. You were sorry that this podcast has come to this state so soon. so soon, and yet now it is gone.
I'm sure most people are. But when you think about yes, a big but. There is a lot on the subject. I mean, for instance, the toilet paper shortage. That is a pretty prescient thing. What do we do?
I do not know where you're going with this.
There's so much pun to be had.
Yeah,
here.
No, it is pun. You don't have to do the puns. They'll all just come out.
Oh,
whether or not you want it. It's
no.
Spicy.
It comes out whether you want it or not, for sure. It is hot and spicy. It stings thinking about it.
Yeah. But I'm not surprised, and I'm surprised at the same exact time that a computer can identify you by looking at your butt. I think that's one of the stranger takeaways from this, that it didn't need a fingerprint or facial recognition, that there are so many different ways to recognize a human, and here's another one.
It's like, when they used to talk about, for instance, DNA prints and everything like that, it's like 1 in 23 million or something, like whatever it was. I don't think it's something else. With fingerprints, there is that whole partial fingerprints, especially, and everything like that. Like the identification mode for a lot of these things, is not for certain.
Right.
And so now they're talking about how to identify somebody's anus.
I mean, to be fair, it doesn't need to be unique. It needs to be unique amongst 100 different types of matches. Unique for you within your household. It just
depends on how much data you have. But I guess, if you're including in that data, chemistry of what's coming out of said object, then, okay, girth, weight, color, texture, smell. I mean, you could go all those different directions and get, even more information. And, obviously eating patterns, all that stuff, like the food content, the nutritional content, you could derive everything.
But if the toilet was actually analyzing your waste.
Well, I thought you were talking about how diseases can be understood from the
I think it's understanding
composition.
It from the way it looks. I think it's, I don't actually know, but I'm getting the impression that it's actually taking a look at your color. But maybe you're right. I don't know.
When you're getting something like that, if you have physical trumps everything. Even just light can give you a lot of information. That's what spectrography will give you is chemical composition. You can get from the light that bounces off of something, you can get context. So I think that is potentially something that you could derive from just having a camera.
Just the pH. This has turned out to be such a disgusting conversation, but I do find it fascinating at the same exact time.
Well, that's what I said.
Which makes it really problematic.
You wanted to continue. So now I'm comfortable talking about it, but before I was like, yeah. Oh my God.
Do you want to get off the can? Let's... So, according to popular mechanics, airships haven't been able to get back up off the ground until now. There was a study very recently done by the International Institute of
I'm sorry,
Applied
say
Systems,
that one more time.
airships haven't been able to get back up off the ground until now.
No.
It is the worst title you could possibly imagine.
No, that's not true though.
No, it isn't true.
There's been a lot of research into airships already.
Well, look,
and there's been a lot of use of airships repeatedly, and drones actually. With Google and everything like that. I think, is that where you're going?
No, not at all. Actually,
but the idea is that you can have airships that float for years, and this is the weird thing. You saw Aeon Flux?
No, I haven't seen the movie, actually.
Oh, it's a beautiful movie.
Yeah,
it's such a beautiful movie. And one of the things is they use an airship that contains the archives of... spoilers! Spoilers! Spoilers, I'm not going to say it. Anyway, the idea behind an airship is awesome, and you should watch Aeon Flux, John. In fact, we will watch Aeon Flux.
Popular Mechanics gave a pretty crappy title to this, but the general idea is that there was a study from scientists at the International Institute of Applied Systems Analysis in Austria, because of course Austria is where they're all gung-ho for airships. Like, let's bring back the age of the airship again in Austria, which talks about how airships specifically can fight global warming. Because airships, if you're trying to transport things across the water, a boat uses up a lot of energy.
Oh, great idea.
An airplane uses up a lot of energy, but an airship can just follow the wind.
But what you need,
take advantage of the wind and take about a month to actually get out there. But
it's a beautiful idea. Actually, It's a really great idea. How many ships are lost at sea? Do you know? Per year?
Well, I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but
how many transport ships will be lost at sea per year?
A great amount.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how many are lost at sea?
Well, I mean, if you want to add...
How many goods are lost at sea? And when you compound that on the poor navigational understanding of the 1700s, 1800s, I'm not going to call them centuries.
Well, how many cargo ships have problems going into very important areas of water that are also dangerous because you pass by countries like Somalia or Iran? These are their waters, but you have to get your ships in through that area.
Yeah, but then there's going to be
you get to bypass that over the air.
I mean, no drones. I mean, John, no
bypass these. I say that, but these are actually specifically low altitude ones too. So
yeah, it's totally no. There's holes in that.
Yeah,
There's going to need to be a fleet of drones that are going to have to fly around these ships and basically pick off any fleas, regardless.
But
now.
So the two major things that they talk about, one is obviously it cuts down the amount of energy you have to send if you're actually sending it by the air currents. And then the other one is that you can kind of drop an airship any place, which you can't really do with a plane. You just need a runway. And these things can not only be dropped any place, but they can hover in the air and they can drop a line.
There's so much to be said about these projects. First thing is weather, obviously. I mean, weather is very important, especially over the sea. And the intelligence of these craft to be able to autonomously drive days in advance.
Yeah.
Very important, obviously. But that's the beauty.
Yeah.
It's like we have the information at our fingertips. We just have to use it. And it's probably being used right now, actually, by governments. In Austria, especially, because over in Europe, the technology that I've seen of drone flight is phenomenal, and I'm sure that they're well into understanding how that's going to happen. It's astounding, what drone technology is today. And I mean, the fact that you can have, like, let's say an Arduino, something that can literally float in your hand, that can power an entire multi-ton airship. And I'm not saying that lightly.
Yeah, no.
Fun. So, no,
but it's also stuff we're learning about as we're going along. I know, like, an article I came across like a year ago talked about drones that were learning to just mimic how birds rest, which is the stupidest thing in the world. You would have thought somebody would have thought to themselves, why is this drone in the air all the time? Why doesn't it go into a tree, solar charge itself up, then take off again? Hindsight, it sounds like it makes sense, but in practice, it required somebody to actually go, hey, why are we trying to keep this thing in the air 100% of the time?
And that's a very interesting thing. That's a whole other topic, actually.
Yeah, it gets a little spooky when, like, all of a sudden you go like near a tree and all of a sudden these airships all just start popping up out of it and flying in all different directions.
No,
you unsold a bunch of bats.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I guess what I was thinking about with birds resting, I mean, in flight. And, there are birds that, for instance, fly at high altitudes. Nobody really understands why, because when you think about it, you would think that logarithmically, the atmosphere thins. I would actually be interested to see the graph of bird flight over different altitudes.
Just
so
taking advantage of thermal winds.
Hold on. It gets interesting. Thermals are the first thing you would think about. Now think about flight over ground. When you have bird height over ground in different altitudes. So now Arizona is 13,000 feet, let's say. New England area, nothing more than really 1,000 is mostly what you got. Height over ground in both of those areas for the same species of bird, if that is even possible, because obviously it's very difficult to get the species of bird. But the idea is that do birds like to fly at different heights over different ground? That's something that's interesting. And then why would that happen? Obviously thermals might be something, but then when you're talking about the Midwest, in higher elevations, why would they fly higher? Is it because of various other things? Obviously flight on the leeward side of a mountain is more interesting, for some birds because they can, they do updrafts and things like that. Flight on leeward side versus flight on windward side of mountains and things like that. Very interesting. How birds would react, and why they would react for certain species. Because obviously some birds are better built for other things than thermals. Some of them are weighted, smaller wings, faster, things like that. In fact, I would even like to see breaking down, the most efficient birds. If you take a carcass of a bird and weigh the bones, one bird versus another, and it sounds grotesque, but I mean, it's interesting, all that whole topic, because then you can kind of break down, okay, why are they flying that way? What type of research did they do? Did you see that?
They talk a lot about what they're about their results, but they don't talk a lot about how they got to that research. Not in the Popular Mechanics article, at least. They also spend a lot of time talking about like Zeppelins of old and stuff like that. The article kind of goes all over the place. I do find it kind of funny. Like one of the nice things about aircraft is that you can airships is that you can kind of refill them as they go because they kind of just hover up there. You just send something up like a balloon, let's say, to just fill them up. So you could kind of have like a crew that's in an airship forever.
I don't think you need a crew.
Well, you don't need a crew. I'm thinking about the idea of like, when am I going to actually like live in a Zeppelin?
Airships are
for the rest of my life.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Airships are probably the most robust craft I would think of to put an autonomous.
I've got this idea in my head that like land property costs so much, and that over time people will just start moving out into the ocean as a way to just like survive. And I do wonder if over time people will start taking to the air as like another way to get property.
Don't need to. It's not necessary.
But like it isn't.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a great way to travel.
Right.
But again,
North America you don't need to, because North America is more wilderness than any other.
Because weather is something you have to worry about 100% of the time, and you always have to 100% of the time you have to worry about weather, and you have to put down somewhere in the event of an emergency.
That's true.
So those are the two most important factors. And once that gets sussed out, and once there are multi-ton airships that are sending cargo to and fro, hither and yon, I'm not getting in one.
All right, moving on. So another article from Popular Mechanics. This is Hero creates AI doppelganger of himself to get out of Zoom video meetings. So this guy,
Zoom. So what is Zoom, first of all?
So Zoom is very much like Skype. A lot of businesses use Zoom. I don't understand why they use Zoom specifically,
Zoom
but I'm not.
Zoom
I'm not
has
totally
become everywhere.
It is. It has.
All of a sudden,
it has, and they charge you money for more than like 40 minutes, which makes me confused as why anybody actually. But like these, but your employer uses Zoom, and they pay so much for an account. So the idea that because your employer is doing it, everybody that's underneath that employer starts using it. It's just kind of weird.
So,
but it's just a way to FaceTime.
You said it's
people.
Like exactly. So like FaceTime, Skype, Zoom. What is it?
I mean,
what is it?
What is it? What is FaceTiming? All right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Discussed what these things are.
FaceTiming is like using the phone, but you see a person on the other end. And
right, so what's a video camera?
John? It's a phone. Yes, it's a phone.
What's a phone?
What is a phone? All right. There are sounds you make with your mouth called phonemes.
All right.
And when you pick up a phone...
What I'm trying to say, John, is that these are means of communication.
Yeah.
Communicating between people.
Right.
Why are we doing this? Because we have a greater need to communicate at distance.
Sure.
Why?
Why? Because we need to communicate. Because some things cannot be communicated easily between people who are bad at writing out their choices.
Okay.
Like
so you're saying
you ask a
writing,
writer this, and I'm just like, man,
writing?
I could just write the answer. Everybody wants to talk to me.
This is exactly where I was going. Writing is a perfect need.
Yeah.
Is a perfect not a need. It's a perfect means, a tool for communication.
Yes.
Speaking
Yeah.
is a perfect means of communication.
Sure.
Perfect. I mean, they're all...
We're doing it right now.
Right. So...
Ron, what's a podcast?
Well, exactly. It's like Skype.
It's like a Skype.
Yeah. Except, it's like a monologue Skype. So the idea is that... But we're discussing over a monologue. Interesting. But it's also a discussion in a monologue. So all these things are... In fact, everything that we are discussing, like, for instance, my talking to you right now is a monologue.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yes.
So everything...
Absolutely.
There's communication is always a monologue.
It's two monologues. In conflict with each other.
No. It's okay.
Or in coercion with each other.
Hold on.
In cahoots with each other.
It's not just two.
Cahoots.
It's not just two, John.
Yes, sure.
The idea is that everything is a monologue. All communication is a monologue. Whatever you're getting, it's coming at you from one side. Now, what you're doing with like something like a Zoom is that it's a video, multiple videos.
Yes.
So now there's a video of somebody coming at you,
right,
and talking about something, or showing you something in a medium. There's multimedia.
Yeah.
You have the internet. You have... No, seriously.
No, I know.
I'm breaking all this down because this is a very important thing.
We haven't even gotten to the article yet, though.
No, but this is a very important concept.
Yeah,
John.
sure.
The idea of communication is not just one medium, one discussion, one monologue, one thought.
Right.
It's a clash of things.
Sure.
And it's how you build those that really matters. Now, it doesn't have to be a Zoom.
Right.
It can be a Skype. It can be a FaceTime.
Yes.
And all these things. So why does Zoom all of a sudden become the thing?
Why has it become the neutral term that we use for the situation?
For that particular... Because
specifically because this was done on Zoom.
A lot of...
It's not a placeholder name for the thing. There have been a lot
of things before. Like, why is it now?
I don't know. Well, because of the whole entire coronavirus thing. That's why it
Zoom?
became in the public conscious, because it was the one that was most popularly used now.
It is very popular. I don't understand it.
No, I don't understand it either. I don't understand when people contact me on Facebook and they say to me, hey, why don't we communicate on Zoom? And I'm like, did you know there's a button you can push right here and we can just do the same Zoom thing on Facebook? There's no reason why we have to move over there. Yeah. But, people are so built in. Why are people using Discord? It's the same thing, It's just like, you kind of feel like you're making things more complicated, but sure, okay, we'll do that.
It's so weird. Like, people don't want to talk on the phone, they want to talk on Zoom.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
It is weird. This is what the article is. So this guy has made an AI program.
I think it's weird.
I don't disagree with you. This guy has made an AI program for himself so that when he ends up inside these large chats, because now we're in the middle of this coronavirus thing, everybody's kind of doing so many meetings from home. They're using Zoom a lot. And he's getting stuck in these meetings with his 8 or 10 people inside these meetings, and his input is so minor in comparison. So he has programmed an AI and taken pictures of himself and just pretended that his connection is slow. So the pictures update and change every now and then. And if somebody actually asks him a question, it's very generic, he has a pattern response. Somebody says hello to him, it just says hi back to them. So he doesn't actually have to be at the meeting. I just find this very funny. The actual video itself isn't worth watching because it's just a rudimentary example of his way of actually taking advantage of the system. But, I mean, we may end up with a future of people just making or having programs that are smart enough to virtually talk for us and nothing gets done because no one's actually there.
John, the really funny thing is that in my opinion, given the context of what I just said, how trivial is that? What that guy is doing versus somebody literally being in a meeting and not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
That happens all the time.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that makes him...
Somebody being there and literally not being there is something that people do in meetings all the time.
I know. It is one of the things that makes this so advantageous. It's a tool to kind of push into the establishment and say, look, you can't prove whether or not I'm there, so why are we doing it?
Given the context that I literally, what you're saying shows how much a monologue exists.
I agree.
In communication.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah. We're in concordance.
Wow. Are you... No, are you...
Yeah!
Are you with me?
Ooh, yeah! Oh, yeah!
All right, Kool-Aid man.
Concordance. We should move on.
No, but do you...
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, this is the entire problem in a nutshell. we are over Zooming right now, like 100%, to a point where it just doesn't matter anymore. There's a complete communication breakdown. We have to find ways of making these virtual meetings matter, and I know this is a big problem with corporations in the first place.
John,
the over meeting process, which is like, I don't want to do work.
What I'm purporting,
so we're going to have another meeting.
What I'm purporting is that meetings don't even need to exist.
Well,
the idea behind communication is that everything is a monologue.
I think that is an extremist point of view, and I don't actually disagree with the concept behind it. My
position, should you choose to accept it,
okay,
is that offline and online communication, it does not matter. It doesn't have to be immediate. All that matters in communication is engagement. That's all that matters. So somebody's disengaged from a communication, that happens 90% of the time.
Yeah.
99% of the time. Most people listening to this podcast right now,
they're out.
Yeah.
Most people listening to this podcast
I'd send them $1.
Has closed and deleted and tried something else.
I'd send them $1 in 2020 if they actually gave me their address in the comments.
Would you now?
I would.
What if I give you my address in the comments? See, I'm listening. I'm thinking.
Exactly. But that's the thing, is that would I?
He already has my address, and he's never given me $1 before.
John, that's engagement.
Yes.
That's the point.
That is the... We're talking about in very broad terms. That's why I'm saying this guy's effort is trivial. Because he could literally walk away from the camera, not give a have a nice day. Why does he need to create an AI program? Why does he need to go through the hoops to create that AI program in the first place? Because from his standpoint, he has to look like he's participating in the conversation.
Why?
Otherwise, he does not get paid. That is why. Otherwise, he has not come to work that day.
How much money did he spend creating this AI program?
Oh, nickels.
How much time did he spend?
Time is another, I don't know, maybe a few hours or something like that. It's not a very complicated program.
Money's time. You pay rent.
Electricity,
sure. All that stuff.
So, okay, sure. He spent $40, let's say. Or maybe he's got a better job than that. Maybe he's got pay $80 to $90, $100.
And that's my question. And then now another part of that is engagement. So was it Pocket Mechanics created the article? So the response to that is now that people are basically going to say, "Oh, that's a great idea. I want to buy that." So now his time and money could be transported into a product which may net him, let's say, $100,000. Let's just say.
Yeah.
So he makes a little money off of being lazy. Great. It's kind of like the point of commerce when you think about it. Most things...
That is the dream.
Commerce is basically making money off of being lazy. Everybody wants to be a certain amount of lazy, and they buy something to become more lazy in doing something else.
Finding out there was something you never knew you needed until somebody told you that you really needed this.
Well, going out of your way to become more lazy. Yeah.
Let's move on. Do you want to talk about Burning Man right now while we're talking about things going on
Burning
online?
Man is so interesting, to me at least.
Yeah.
When I think about Burning Man...
Have you been to Burning Man?
No. When I was a kid...
I would have assumed you would have been.
No, when I was a kid, I knew it existed. I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And I knew what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I want to go. But I was too young. I can't remember what year that was. And I don't know how I even found out, because this is back in the days when the internet was very small. Well, do you know... do you want to speak about what Burning Man is? I'll let you lead in.
My knowledge of Burning Man exactly and what goes on there is actually kind of low. I made a general guess you actually have been to Burning Man at some point in time, because it just seems like something you would have done. But it's a gathering of people around the northern Nevada area, out in the desert, and they make stuff. And they participate in things. And it's about as vague as I could possibly make it, because I don't think any proper description is appropriate. But there's a lot of people making a lot of artwork out there, and a lot of people taking a lot of drugs, and a lot of people communicating with each other. And it's like a big festival, and strangely like a convention and a concert all rolled up into one. It's tough to explain, because they use very vague terms when they talk about Burning Man. The reason why we're talking about it is because it's officially been canceled in the Reno desert. They're going to be putting it online this year.
Playa.
The Playa, yeah. Which means that the Reno area is going to get hit, unfortunately. This is interesting because there's two sides of this. One is that, unfortunately, there's all this loss, right? And Burning Man's going to have a really hard time recouping its money off of tickets and stuff like that. The organization, which is another level altogether from the actual
Burning Man, in my opinion, it sounds counterintuitive, but that's exactly what Burning Man is. I think Burning Man missed the boat. I think that they don't understand the true purpose of Burning Man.
You think they jumped the shark, or do you think that they don't understand themselves?
Burning Man has has become a South by Southwest.
Should warn people again. This is from two people who have never been to Burning Man.
No.
Yeah.
No. And I've never been to South by Southwest or Coachella. Or
I know.
Or any really big festival. I've always wanted to go to festivals like that. But what I'm trying to say is that the reason why I think that Burning Man has missed the boat is because they were, I don't know if they still are, they were a very innovative concept, and that turned festivals on their ear. The only purpose to Burning Man was the last night.
Okay.
And it was always that way. The monolithic burning, and that was it.
That's why everybody's there.
And everybody left, and everybody went home. Why don't they just do that?
So here's two
or whatever they want to do. Like, they can do whatever they want. They can go on the web or whatever like that. But why not build something in the middle of the desert, have people go, they can stand 6 feet away from each other.
Right. First of all,
watch the Burning Man, and do whatever they want.
I should point out, despite the organization heads of Burning Man, this will probably end up happening somewhere in the desert around that area, around Black Rock Village.
We can do that here.
Right. Like, that's probably going to go off anyways, no matter what anybody says. The actual reason why Burning Man is being stopped now, even though it's a little bit early to be doing that, is because artists need to go out to Reno right now and start working on projects. Those artists need to be stopped before they go out there to work on projects. So that's the reason why they decided to stop it now, even though it's pretty far in the future.
They don't have to work on projects.
I understand. I 100% understand.
They can do the projects at home, too.
Here's the benefit to this, which I actually
think do anything they want.
The silver lining, which I haven't seen many people write about.
Burning Man does not have to exist.
The silver lining, which I haven't seen many people write about, is that this accidentally makes Burning Man international. Like, people who are in Europe and in Asia and across the United States who had never been to Burning Man before, never had a chance to get out to the middle of Reno, Nevada.
What happens when you
they can get online?
What happens when you stamp out a fire?
You potentially burn your boots.
This is the irony. This is the irony of Burning Man. If you stamp out a fire?
This man. If you're the Riddler, I have lost as Batman here. I'm just like, I don't get it.
You do get it. You do get it. You actually do get it. When you stamp out a fire, what happens? The embers go everywhere. That's exactly what's happening to Burning Man. If that's what they're doing, they're being ridiculous.
Well, it is for this.
And I'm not saying it's their fault or that is a problem. It's not a problem. There's no problem.
This is going to be a really weird virtual event because, like, unlike Zoom, you can't just Zoom thousands of people at the same exact time. So they're going to have to create some sort of network to have people communicating with each other.
And that's a good thing too. That's a good thing too. It's going to probably be something, interesting and novel. But it's not where I go.
I especially wouldn't expect you to pay a ticket for this, because quite frankly, it sounds like they're still going to try to charge for something, because they need to recoup their money. Again, the organization that runs this.
There's no recouping money for creating something.
As I was reading, they happen to have $10 million inside their reserve fund, and they're blasting right through that right now, because there will not be people there, and they're refunding people left and right.
I think they're perfectly fine.
They probably will be. I can't imagine, worst case scenario, some major benefactor coming in and being like, here's some $1 million, Burning Man, keep working. Because it is probably one of the most well-known cultural festivals anywhere. I can't think of many that are more popular than that. And if they are, they're like religious. Outside of Burning Man.
It is. You are interestingly correct. It is a religious event. It's a
It's a spiritual event.
So this is the interesting thing behind religion and spirit, right? Or spirituality.
Sure, we're going to get into religion right now? Yeah,
no, real quick. Burning Man is a fundamentalist movement. It was created with the intent of being creative. So hopefully they break the fourth wall in the virtual space by doing something outstanding. I hope they do that. And they have the opportunity to do that.
I think
if you think about it,
they've only got a few months to work on it, but they could do something spectacular.
If they crowdsource a virtual event, they could capitalize.
Absolutely.
Ridiculous. Because think of everybody that's going to Burning Man. If they said, all right, let's create a virtual event. Everybody that wants to attend, be a part of it. Let's do it.
The power of the masses is incredibly powerful.
Now you have a
not
website
only that, but at the very least,
and people are creating virtual event. That would be ridiculous.
That is totally the spirit of Burning Man in the first place. The idea of people just kind of like tooling things and putting it all together.
I would pay to develop something like that on a platform that was outstanding.
Which is kind of funny. Pay to do the work for them. Yeah. Or to pitch in for the work. But like,
build the wall, John.
That's what a lot of people are going to end up doing. They'll end up helping out and donating.
Think about that. It's a movement that people will go forward to, that literally can be crowdsourced, with people wanting to be a part of it and wanting to create and wanting to pay into it.
Here's hoping the staff
that is something that will happen.
Is willing to trust people, because if they trust people,
now they do
at
it
the
by
very
themselves,
least, they will get human excitement involved.
Different question entirely. in my opinion, it's going to happen regardless.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to do it. And it's a great idea. But that's the point, John. That's the spirituality versus religion is, religion requires some sort of deity. It requires a being. Or beings. It can be, it's a multiple of things. But the idea behind spirituality is that it doesn't require a being, it just requires a movement. It requires a feeling within somebody.
Yeah.
A fundamentalist spirituality is different from a fundamentalist religion.
I don't actually buy that this religion actually requires a being thing, but like we would get very far into a philosophical
I'm just saying
debate.
that from this is what I understand from if you look at the dictionary and you regard the dictionary as a context that is relied upon.
The reason why Shintoism is religion and Taoism is a philosophy has to do with the. I'm going to get right over my head here if I actually continue talking, so I'm not going to actually.
I think you understand what I'm saying, though.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
It's a very cool concept. Shintoism is very interesting.
It is, and I will make sure we have a Shintoism article in the future, because I am sure if I went like Shintoism news, that I would just have 100 articles for us right off the top of trees marrying rocks.
So that's something that, for instance, us in the quote-unquote West, I don't know, I haven't seen most people grasp it very well. It's much like water in the hands.
I'll tell you how I don't grasp it very well, and we are going way off topic here, but the woman who tells you that if it doesn't spark joy in your life, you should throw it away.
Well, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I've read her book. It's a good book.
Think about,
but like one of the things she points out.
That.
You might get to my point here.
Yeah.
One of the things she points out in the book is that when she comes home, she takes off her coat, then she thanks her coat, and she puts her coat on the hanger, and then she takes her purse, and she thanks her purse, and she puts her purse on the mantle, and she thanks her shoes, she takes her shoes, and puts her shoes in the place where the shoes go. And the idea of taking all this time to like thank everything that you've been carrying around, to us, it's luggage. It's stuff we had in us that we shuck. This is an exact opposite approach. I am super happy that this all came with me and I could have this experience with it. Just is mind blowing. And I love the idea I could not live that way,
It's a beautiful idea when I think about it. First of all, it sounds very Japanese. Second of all,
well, I mean, it is. But yeah.
But second of all, looking at a concept like that. Oh man, I had a great idea. I can't remember. I lost it.
Sorry.
It just went out the
Sorry. I forced my idea and we lost yours.
No, we should take it back to the point. A woman going home and taking off her bra immediately.
This is what you were thinking of?
No.
We're talking about listening, Ron.
No, actually, I was listening.
Yes.
And I was engaged.
Right.
And the thing with what you were saying...
You're talking about specifically about, like, the ability to do it from the privacy of your own home while you're attending a burning minute.
So if a woman takes off her bra immediately when she gets home, she's doing that because she doesn't want to wear it outside.
Sure.
Why is she wearing it outside? Is it because of a cultural thing, or is it because of another type of thing? Sports bras. Why do they exist versus bras?
Yeah.
Sports bras, they're functional.
I should point out, we have both never been to Burning Man, nor do we wear bras.
No, we don't wear bras.
But we have humongous breasts, so I don't know why we aren't doing it.
I'm trying to get rid of mine. But I actually don't have very humongous breasts. Thankfully. I don't think so. I mean, we can gauge that later. We could test a theory. I don't mind. But what I'm trying to say is that when I look at that from a perspective of Burning Man, taking those things and having them in our lives, I personally try to have things in my life that I enjoy having in my life. But the reality is that I'm also shedding a lot of things too. So there's this duality that's existing there. That's, I think, in most people's lives, from what I've seen. And gathering of things, that are important and that we thank, I am all for. Yeah. I think I should do that more. Shedding of things that we don't thank.
It's easy to say.
It's probably something I need to do more of too.
It's easy to tell people that they should be more thankful. But then what does it look like is oftentimes very difficult for people to actually recognize. It's just like, oh yeah, no, I'm thankful. I like the things that I have and what I'm doing, and I'm enjoying my life. And then they just kind of move forward. It's not really a change that happens inside of them. It's just something they acknowledge for maybe a day or an hour, but it's really tough to actually change mental patterns. We're both raised a certain way. Everybody I know is raised a certain way, I suppose you could actually say.
Like, we were both raised. Yeah, be more specific, please.
I'm not talking about anything specifically. I'm just saying, we were raised to be thankful, but not for our environment. Just taking cues from our parents and the people around us and our teachers. We were thankful when we were praised. We weren't thankful for just walking outside and enjoying the air, which is something that seems almost crazy because it's beautiful out there. Absolutely beautiful. The springs come, the birds are all working. It's a wonderful place to live in that we live in, like this Massachusetts, New Hampshire, semi-wooded area. And even when I register how beautiful it is, I don't think to myself, wow, I'm so lucky. I'm even lucky. That's not the right word. You know what I mean? I'm
appreciative.
I'm appreciative of what I have. Yeah, exactly. I struggle to find that word because it just doesn't come to me.
You struggled. Interesting. Well, so with regard to Burning Man, it would almost seem to me that they're going to lose a certain percentage of people, and maybe they have over the years. They've always had a turnover, I would imagine, of people based on the concept and how it's changed. Like in any institution.
Based on the comments I'm seeing, like there are people who are very upset, and then those people get dumped on immediately because that's not really the spirit of Burning Man in the first place. People understand that crises happen.
Yeah, but also at the same time, I think it's a little cultish to dump on people that disagree.
Sure.
I think that it's an institution that, again, stamping out, will create different embers, and some of those will alight anew. And I think that that's a beneficial thing.
This could be an incredibly positive change.
And to thank, in my opinion, I am thankful for that process. I'm thankful to Burning Man. I'm thankful for the people involved, and I'm thankful for the turnover. Yeah. I think that the entire Burning Man institution, inside and outside, is beautiful. That's probably all we need to say about that, unless you have something to add.
No, I'm not thankful for a damn thing. Let's move on.
All right. Intermission. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Oh, welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
You finally got what you're looking for. That's not the words.
No, it's not the words.
But I can pretend they are, and I'll sing some more.
I wonder if that song has to be copyrighted.
Yes. Were you expecting to, that would be the one song in the public domain?
Oh, that would be such a great public domain song. Oh, I love that song. Oh.
I have one last article for you for today, and it is titled, from CNET, NASA contemplates turning a moon crater into a giant, powerful telescope. NASA just revealed their plans, and they're working on this.
Perfect idea.
You already start with what seems like an obvious choice. A crater is already shaped like a goddamn telescope.
So they're going to use the dark side of the moon, or what?
Yes, you jump to another point right away. On the other side of the moon, you don't get Earth noise as much when you're on the dark side of the moon.
Fantastic.
And there's no Earth light either that you have to contend with. And there, you put the satellite over there, and you send a bunch of robots out there to actually build the thing for you. And they're planning on putting in a crater that's somewhere between 3 to 5 kilometers in diameter. It is a gigantic.
So they've actually mapped it, and they found out it's logarithmically great for taking radio waves and focusing them.
That, I believe, is the plan. I'm not sure how they plan on sending the signal back to Earth.
Well, satellites.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a big deal.
I don't know how many satellites we have surrounding the moon right now, but
there are a ton of satellites around the moon right now.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I suppose that only makes sense.
Mars has, there's a lot of satellites around Mars and the moon right now.
The funny thing is,
that's a great idea.
It is. Moon Telescope Project is one of 23 concepts that received part of a $7 million investment through the NIAC, which is kind of funny when you think of it, because that's less than the reserve fund that that Burning Man had. It's funny what you can actually do for less than $10 million.
But we're poor, John.
Yeah.
We can't have a festival. We're poor.
So yeah, no, I don't know if there's anything more to say about it. We saved this. I didn't save this one for last. It just happened to be the one we were talking about last.
No, it's a nugget.
It's a beautiful idea. I just think that
it's a fabulous idea.
I don't know if there is anything more to say about this.
No, I mean, if you, oh man, I mean, to discuss this.
I mean, the only thing to actually point out is that
beautiful.
Yeah,
I want to see it happen. When's it going to happen?
they've announced that they're working on it. I don't think there's
there's not a
if
they find
date
the right
attached to
creator,
it.
if they find the right creator, it's not going to be a problem. It's going to be like months. I mean, we have such amazing drone technology when it comes to like Curiosity rover, and I mean, we're ridiculous now with that stuff. Like in the Spirit and Opportunity, they lasted years. Oh my gosh, it's so. You could take Curiosity, land it into the perfect crater, and then have a radio station like that tomorrow. All it needs is basically have this huge antenna on top of it that will be the thing that will concentrate, or take the concentration of radio waves and immediate telescope. What a great idea!
Yeah, I mean, it should put Hubble to shame, absolute shame. The sort of things we can actually get back with a telescope.
Well, that's the James Webb. So that was the idea behind the James Webb. It's essentially a mini version of a moon crater. If you look at it, it's specifically that, and I'm not sure if it's actually even launched yet. But they were going to put it into like some sort of a Lagrange point where the idea was that it was going to orbit. Essentially, there's no gravitational pull, and so it's orbiting itself in a sense is how that works when you're in a Lagrange point. Essentially, the reason why they're doing that is to isolate it. It wouldn't have any interference from the sun, from the moon, nothing. Not because of the gravitational stability or anything like that. It's because of the ability for it to stay away from light interference, sound interference, things like that. Like, any photons. Like, they want to be able to isolate the photons to only look at specifically what they want to look at light years away.
I mean, it's crazy the things that we're still pulling up now with just the technology we have. I didn't actually pull forward an article that actually dealt with just recently. NASA has picked up a jet stream of particles being sent at us, which is like the first time we've ever gotten a clear shot of when two galaxies collide, and it sends the particles directly at the Earth, because it's like shining a flashlight at you while trying to talk to somebody behind that flashlight. All those gamma waves just kind of prevent you from seeing things. But this is one that just is starting, and therefore we're able to examine what happens.
Well, this has been happening for decades. I think the FRBs, fast radio bursts, or something like that.
There's another article I was going to pull up was the second moon that we had kicking around.
It's like looking at a space and then saying, okay, this is what's here, and then this is what it was before and after, and being able to decipher that and say, okay, what does this mean? What is this actually doing? And yes, they were able to do that. I think it was last year, end of last year. With FRBs, we don't know why they happen. It's been hypothesized. So FRBs are essentially packets of information that it sounds like data. It doesn't sound like static. As a result, when you get those, you think that there's something intelligent behind them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there is. It could just be, something random. One time there was an FRB that was detected. They were like, "Oh my goodness!" And then they realized there was a microwave in the next room. So... But it was important that they actually found that out, because that's to tell you that it was you.
Yeah,
it's important.
You have found intelligent life.
So
in the next room over.
Looking for FRBs in the Earth's atmosphere is problematic because it could be us. Looking for FRBs from other planets, especially other planets where you're looking away from our planet, is more likely to be something that's important. We can't verify with certainty whether it's one thing or the other yet. I don't think. I'm sure that they're getting, or they're doing a really good job at identifying it, and I think they potentially have. My understanding is we really need to understand it from somewhere distant from us, isolated, so that we can see for certain whether it's real or something imagined.
Which is why exploration of the dark side of the moon is so damn important.
Awesome idea.
Like the Chinese, that was one of their big projects for space projects, was to actually drop something on the dark side of the moon. I think that was very recent.
India sent.
Or was it India? My apologies. It might have been India.
No, China did this. China sent a rover, but they spent something like $150 million, something like that. India did it in $15 million.
Did they?
Yeah.
He pretty much just showed the Indian space program is not only thrifty, but very effective.
Well, but it's like SpaceX, you realize that it doesn't take billions of dollars to create a space program or a Burning Man.
Yeah.
It's like, it just takes time and effort. And that's the thing about, thinking outside the box. It doesn't only, net you interesting projects, it nets you better projects. Things that are probably more worthwhile. And so, the distance we're being afforded right now with all of these things, I think is a benefit, because that gives us time to think in our own heads, thinking from the inside out instead of think from the outside in. Where, some of those projects I see, it's like it's dealing with that outside world. And like, for instance, that taking it back to, for instance, the AI thing or even the code talkers, it's like a lot of that stuff you're dealing from the inside out. You're looking at things from a fundamental level and saying, this is the beauty of it, and then bringing it to the forefront. And I think that, a lot of these projects that are worthwhile are the ones that are going to be the best ones to go forward. And I'd like to see that happen.
Well, you can see that happen with us as we explored the universe and everything in it.
No, nothing.
Oh, we explored nothing.
6Nothings.
This has been 6Nothings. 6Nothings.
It could be 5, it could be 8, but today it's 6.
It has been a pleasure speaking to you today, Roger. What is your name again?
Stuart, I think.
Stuart. It was Stuart.
What was yours?
Mine is John Michael Garrett.
No, it was something else. No, I'm Ron. Ron Charette.
And
it's a pleasure to meet you, by the way.
And we'll see what happens when we get to episode 2, and if we stay on this tightrope line to find out if this name sticks. I'm the one who actually puts this stuff online. I can change it.
You change it to whatever you want.
You can't control me.
No, I'm not trying to.
All right.
Nor should any of us, because that's the beauty of being ourselves. Is that we are unique.
I'm definitely unique, like a snowflake. So
I can't tell you that you're unique. I think I'm unique. Are you unique?
Next time we'll be getting into philosophical discussions as to human uniqueness and free will. Until then, have a good day. Bye-bye.